All right, and so that brings us into our main event. You know I love when the big boys fly, and this is going to be a great one for sure. So we got Alistair Overeem taking on Alexander Volkov on here. What we mentioned to Siraj, I always get confused with Volkanovski, but this is the heavyweight beast in Alexander Volkov. So, on one end, we got Overeem. Overeem comes in at 40 years old, has a sparkling 47-18 record. Man, these guys take a lot of fights, these guys, man.
Well, this guy's been fighting since he was like a teenager, man. It's insane. Like if you go through
a few of those on this card.
If you go through the list, man, remember you love going through Mans' list to see who they've fought. Going through Overeem's list is actually insane. Man fought Chuck Liddell in Pride in 2003, my friend. Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
That is he's so nuts, man.
It's so hilarious, man. He's a when you talk about legends of the sport, if there was like a long-term like Hall of Fame, Overeem's one of your first inductees, man. Just for like everything for the sport. He's fought in every major. He's something else.
That's so crazy. So Overeem, he comes in, he's won 4 of his last 5. He's going to look to keep that momentum going. He had a huge knock against Walt Harris back in May. That one really stands out to me. He followed that up with another main event KO in the 5th round to Augusto Sakai. Notable losses in the last 5 years include Curtis Blaydes, Francis Ngannou, Stipe Miocic, the true greats of the division. So he's no joke. I'm really looking forward to seeing him get back into the ring. Volkov on the flip side, 32-8 record, straight beast, man. He also KO'd Walt Harris with a mean back kick back in September. He has, only real 2 losses in the last 5 years for this guy are Curtis Blaydes and our boy, the Black Beast, and that one was a hyped fight. I actually went back and watched that one. Even their weigh-ins, man. Black Beast knocking off his hat and shit. Just so crazy, man. So this one's going to be a great main event. I'm really looking forward to this one. Yeah. Well, what do you got for me here, man?
Yes, I mean, you love the big boys, so it's probably why you didn't really agree with me when I said the last fight should be on the main card. So I'm going to pitch it again. Frankie Edgar and Corey Sandhagen should be the main event on this card. And I appreciate what these heavyweights are going to do, but I believe that if we see them do it absolutely to their fullest for the 3 rounds, it would have been better because we might have been able to see potentially 4 or 5 rounds of Frankie Edgar and Corey Sandhagen. But that's besides the point here. Let's talk about your big boys. So the thing about Volkov, if you had me almost saying Volkanovski, the thing about Volkov is that
I did it to you.
Yeah. Like his win over Walt Harris, like that was an incredible body shot. I don't know if you remember watching it, but it was a great body shot. When you look at the rest of his fights, I think sometimes where he might get the edges in similar fights or against the same fighters, he's maybe not getting finished. When you look at Overeem, when he loses, really, he seems to kind of let up on the chin, let up on the discipline, because he is chinny. Let's be real. Overeem is chinny. And in the fights where he does acknowledge that, and chooses to exhibit what could be, top 20 pound for pound MMA striking. Who knows? He's that good of a striker. Look at his fights. It's just, unfortunately, you gotta play defense too, right? And in those fights, you go down the list. Joselyne got a nice little clean shot. When you look at the Stipe Miocic fight, shot to body to basically the ground and pound. So it's like these are the things where, especially at the heavyweight classes, is when you might not get fully knocked. But if you get knocked down and you're not really fully there, mans are going to jump on you. And guess what? Size 2XL to 3XL, whatever, are just coming in hard. Head might still be a regular human head, but the hands are big. And so, unfortunately, you know what I mean? The boys are getting dusted. And so you look at these finishes. I think Volkov was one of my favorite fights of all time because my boy, Black Beast, took it to him. Can't let up on the man. You just can't let up, bro. Man's got some of the most exciting fights of all time. Overeem's exciting. Obviously, the last few fights, a lot of them have been, hitting the unders, right? Not going the distance. I think in this case, he's going to be the more technical striker, but at the same time, are you going to be disciplined? Are you going to avoid maybe some of the work that he might bring to you in the volume striking combos? Are you going to get a little excited when you see an opening and maybe take a shot up the middle or something like that? this man can get dropped by the worst of jabs. You know what I mean? Like, that's the part that scares me the most. It's going to be a striking battle. We're hoping for what could be a really interesting Muay Thai striking boxing match for maybe 5 rounds. But at the same time, you know, one guy's a little bit more chinny, but more experienced and probably the better striker overall. But the other guy's been through it, even lost to some of the same guys, but went the distance. You know what I mean? And that's where, like, unfortunately, as much as I believe one guy should be the favorite, I think another guy is.
Well, let's dive right into that, since you seem to have some inclination there. Who's your Vegas pick here?
Yeah, so it's like, even when I look at the recent, you know, wins, I love what Overeem's put together, you know, but I don't know if it's going to get the same bump as what Volkov has going down the list. You know, the names in the heavyweight division always speak volumes. So it's just really difficult for me to not give Volkov the favorite when his 2 losses are what some consider a lucky showing by Derrick Lewis, which I would never consider lucky. And then Curtis Blaydes, who is basically your next, you know, potential title challenger, right? So I think in all senses, it's going to be Volkov. Obviously, this is ridiculous. If it's a minus 300, I will have to slap somebody if this is in the minus 300 range, because it's just undeserved. But he has a chance to finish. I just explained why. So we're going to go with Volkov minus 220.
All right. We can finish that off with a nice round of applause. Nice bell for this man. What a showing for
He
UFC
sounds
Vegas
so
18.
excited. Look at that. This guy sounds so unexcited about hitting so many bells.
It's way more exciting when you get them wrong. How fun is it to be like, oh yeah, another one you got right here. I'm over this, man. So, you know, Volkov comes in at a minus 190 favorite, in range with what you were saying. You know, looking at some of these finish numbers. So Volkov to finish the fight is plus 120. Him going, you know, to decision is plus 333. A line that stood out to me is Overeem to finish is plus 240. I think there's a decent amount of value in that one. And Overeem by decision is plus 700.
Wow. Okay. What's interesting is that it's because if you go down, if you go down the list, right, like even his last fight, like he was able to get it done in the 5th. So I think even his cardio is holding up nowadays. So it's one of those things where you really have to kind of, these lines are the most, like, if anything, I'm excited that the lines in this heavyweight fight are going to reflect the 5-round fight, because that's what's going to make it exciting for us to do extra research and kind of pick some of these things that we think might happen. Because what are your over-unders looking like here?
Yeah, so I'll just run through it by round, but 4.5 is minus 225. 3.5 is minus 175. 2.5 is minus 120, and 1.5 is plus 162.
Those are your overs?
Those are your unders.
Okay. Okay, they're all very close. Okay, interesting. Wow.
Yeah, so fight to go the distance, if you say no, is minus 250. Yes to go the distance is plus 175.
Yeah, so you kind of just nailed it, right? How can you not assume that Overeem, if you believe in Overeem striking and assume that he can withstand some of the chinniness in the first couple rounds when Volkov will be at his absolute most powerful, even if he's starting to land leg kicks, you know, like these are the things that slow fighters down. I mean, how are you telling me that there's a plus 700? You know, I don't know if that even adds up to me. I don't know. Maybe you can shed some light on that.
I mean, that's probably the most stupendous number I've seen for, you know, a fight that's pretty close to a pick'em. I mean, it's not a pick'em. There's a favorite, but, you know, to see a plus 700 on clearly a fight that the fighters are able to go the distance. We've seen that before with these guys. At plus 700, you know, we got to toss a little salt on that one for sure.
Yeah, it's just interesting because I think the juice really comes from, if you go through Overeem's like record, when he wins, it's usually via finish. You know what I mean? That's why I think you're getting those juicy numbers, because he's just really. It's actually been a while since he's even had a fight. Like 2017, his fight against Fabricio was his last decision win. So one of those things to keep an eye on is yeah. So like I just want us to kind of have that in mind when we go into it, because I love the line. I love it. You know, even with everything we said, because Volkov doesn't really show that. Curtis Blaydes couldn't really finish him. Derrick Lewis is a freak of nature when it comes to power. And Francis Ngannou is in the same boat. So, you know, Overeem's a good technical striker, man. This could be a really interesting process, because if it's a 5-round back and forth, how are you telling me this man is a plus 700 in that realm? Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
You know, that's music to my ears. So, you know, make sure you stay tuned for that one. All our picks will be posted. That wraps up UFC Vegas 18. If you haven't already done so, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell button underneath. We have all of our information, Instagram, Twitter. Give us a follow. That's where all our picks are going to go up. Closer to Saturday, we'll have a bunch of content going up. So make sure you give us that subscribe. Lock that in. Anything else, Siraj?
That is all, my friend. Always a pleasure. Glad to get it rolling again. Let's get it. With these lines, we better
Always
get
a pleasure,
going.
dude. Take care. You got it. Peace out.